Hello, welcome to Moon Shadow Murmurs. I'm Luna, and I'm so glad you're here with me tonight. You know that quiet moment when the world starts to slow down and the night gently slips in through your window? That's when something soft seems to settle in starlight. Tonight, I'd like to take you on a little journey. Let's follow 7 stars that are both familiar and a little mysterious. The ones that form the Big Dipper. Stars that have lived in stories for thousands of years. And surrounding them, there's something even bigger, a great celestial bear called Ursa Major. So take a breath. Close your eyes if you want to. Imagine light that started traveling toward us from deep in the universe. That light is shining over us right now. Let's leave the noise behind for a while and listen to what the night has to say. If you've ever looked up at the night sky, chances are you've seen the Big Dipper. It's made up of 7 stars lined up like a ladle, easy to spot even from the middle of a city. And for a lot of people, it's one of the very first star patterns they learned to find right alongside Cassiopeia and Orion. But here's something interesting. The Big Dipper isn't actually a constellation on its own. It's part of a much bigger one called Ursa Major, the Great Bear. The 7 stars of the Dipper make up the bear's back and tail. But because their shape is so clear and they shine so brightly, they became way more famous than the rest of the bear. So what if we took a closer look at each of those stars? One by one. They each have their own names, their own traits, and their own place in the story of the sky. Let's start with Dubhe. It's the second brightest star in the Big Dipper. You'll find it at the edge of the Dipper's bowl, shining with a reddish glow. Dubhe is a giant star, about 120 light years away. It's roughly 300 times brighter than our sun. Next to Dubhe is Merak. It's the star right next to it, forming the other side of the Dipper's bowl. Together, Dubhe and Merak are called the pointer stars because if you draw a line through them, you'll end up pointing directly to the North Star Polaris. Merak is a B-type star located about 80 light years from Earth. Now let's talk about Vecta. It sits at the bottom of the Dipper and it's a bright A-type star. Just like Merak, it's around 80 light years away. Vecta helps give the Big Dipper its balanced shape. Then we have Megrez. It's the faintest star in the Big Dipper, but it's important because it connects the bowl and the handle. The name Megrez means root of the tail, and this star lies about 80 light years away as well. Now let's move on to Alioth. It's the brightest star in the Dipper and sits right in the middle of the handle. Alioth is a special star, classified as an Ap-type star. It has a unique magnetic field and a surface composition that sets it apart from the others. The name Alioth comes from Arabic and it means tail of the sheep. Mizar is next to Alioth, and it has a companion, Alcor. In ancient times, people used to test their eyesight by seeing if they could spot both stars. Through a telescope, we now know that Mizar is a multiple star system made up of at least 4 stars. The name Mizar comes from the Arabic word mizar, which means a belt or a cloth tied around the waist. At the end of the handle, we find Al-Qaid, also known as Benet Nash. It's a B-type star, bright and blue, about 100 light years from Earth. Unlike most of the other stars in the Big Dipper, Al-Qaid moves along its own path, separate from the rest. Its name means the leader in Arabic. Out of the 7 stars that make up the Big Dipper, 5 of them, Merak, Fexta, Megrez, Alioth, and Mizar, actually come from the same place. They all belong to the Ursa Major Moving Group, a collection of stars that formed together about 500 million years ago. And guess what? They're still moving together through the galaxy today. They travel in the same direction and at nearly the same speed. These stars aren't tightly bound to each other, but they share a common origin. Like friends walking side by side, but each on its own journey, moving at the same pace. On the other hand, Dubi and Al-Qaid are a bit different. They weren't born in the same place as the others, and they move along their own paths. Even though they look like they belong to the same group, they really come from separate origins. It's only through telescopes and special instruments that we can figure out these differences. To the naked eye, though, they seem like one big family. But here's the thing, the shape of the Big Dipper won't stay the same forever. It's been the same for thousands of years, but as time passes, it will start to change. Eventually, the stars will move so much that the Dipper will look different. It's a slow process, but each star is on its own journey. One day, they won't be aligned like they are now. They may seem like they're walking together, but in reality, they're each heading off in their own direction. The Big Dipper isn't just a group of stars you can easily spot in the sky. For thousands of years, people have used it for more than just admiring its beauty. They've used it to find direction, tell time, and even track the changing seasons. If you draw a straight line through Duvi and Merak, you'll end up pointing directly at Polaris, the North Star. Before compasses were invented, people would use these 2 stars to figure out where north was. Just that one line was enough to help travelers find their way. But the Big Dipper does more than just point north. People notice that it doesn't stay in the same spot in the sky. It moves. As Earth rotates, the Big Dipper seems to slowly rotate around Polaris, completing a full circle every night. This motion is called diurnal motion. So, if you watch the Big Dipper at different times of the night, you can tell roughly what time it is just by seeing where the stars are. And as the seasons change, so does the Dipper's position. In the spring, it points upward. In the summer, it leans to the right. In autumn, it sinks lower, and in winter, it tilts to the left. This constant movement was how people used to track time and the seasons. So, the Big Dipper has always been like a built-in clock, calendar, and compass all rolled into one, shining down from the sky for centuries. So, we know the Big Dipper is the most famous part of Ursa Major, but it's just a small part of a much larger constellation. Ursa Major covers about 1,280 square degrees, which is roughly 3% of the entire night sky. That makes it the third largest constellation in the Northern Hemisphere. If you look past the Dipper, you'll see the rest of the Great Bear stretching across the sky. You can imagine it if you try the bear's body, its head, its paws. It's just that the stars of the Big Dipper are the easiest ones to spot. Near the bear's head, we have Musida. This star is about 250 light years away. Its name comes from Latin and Arabic meaning snout. Musida is a G-type giant, which means it's older than our sun, and its gentle, soft light comes from its twilight years. Next, let's move to the front paws of the bear. Here we find Talitha borealis and Talitha australis. Their name Talitha means the third step in Arabic, which ties back to the idea of the bear taking steps across the sky. These two stars form a pair that looks like the bear's walking feet. If you follow the line between them, you might just imagine the bear moving across the sky. Toward the hind legs, we see Tania borealis and Tania australis. These stars are a rare north-south pair in Ursa Major. Their names mean the second step north and south, so they give us a sense of the bear's stance, standing strong and balanced in the sky. If you look through a telescope, you'll see more than just stars in Ursa Major. There are galaxies too. Messier 81 and Messier 82 are two well-known galaxies that sit right in the direction of Ursa Major. Even though they look like faint smudges of light, they're huge collections of billions of stars, and they're far beyond our own Milky Way. Looking into Ursa Major, you realize there's a lot more going on than just the stars we see. It feels like we're looking through a window, a quiet path that leads to even deeper parts of the universe. Before we ever started measuring and mapping the stars, people looked up and saw stories in the sky. They imagined creatures, gods, and legends in the shapes above. In Greek mythology, the Big Dipper is actually a story about Callisto, a beautiful nymph who was a follower of Artemis, the goddess of the hunt. But Callisto caught the eye of Zeus, and when Artemis found out, she cast Callisto out. Zeus, in his usual way, took advantage of her beauty, and as punishment, Hera, Zeus's wife, turned Callisto into a bear. Years later, Callisto's son, Arcas, now a young hunter, was about to unknowingly kill his own mother, but Zeus saw what was happening. To prevent the tragedy, Zeus placed both mother and son in the sky. Callisto became Ursa Major and Arcas became Ursa Minor. Hera, still furious, made sure the two constellations would never dip below the horizon, so they've been circling the North Pole ever since. In Indian mythology, the 7 stars of the Big Dipper are known as the Saptarishi, the 7 sages. These sages represent the wisdom of the cosmos, guiding humanity with their knowledge. Their constellation is called the Saptarshi Mandalam, and they're considered immortal figures, keepers of cosmic knowledge. In the Bible, the Big Dipper shows up in the book of Job, where it's said that God created the Big Dipper, Orion, and other stars. It is he who made the Bear, Orion, the Pleiades, and the chambers of the south, Job 9:9. This shows that even in ancient times, the Big Dipper was seen as part of something divine. For the Iroquois people of North America, the Big Dipper represents 3 hunters chasing a bear. The stars Alioth, Mizar, and Alkaid are the hunters. One carries a bow, another carries a pot to cook the meat, and the third carries firewood. As autumn approaches and the Dipper sinks lower in the sky, the bear is finally caught and slain. The changing position of the stars mirrored the changing of seasons and the hunt that comes with it. In the Middle East, the Big Dipper was seen not as a bear, but as a funeral procession. The 4 stars of the bowl formed the coffin, and the 3 stars of the handle were the mourners. On quiet nights, when the Big Dipper appeared in the sky, it was a solemn reminder of loss. In the ancient skies of Burma, the stars weren't seen as a bear at all. Instead, they were imagined as a water creature, a shrimp, crab, or small lobster. They called it Pukwan Tara, a name that reflected the water-based life in the region. For those living by the rivers, the stars seemed to float just like the creatures of the sea. From Greece to India, from deserts to forests, people have found meaning in the Big Dipper. Though their stories differ, one thing remains the same. People look up and they dream. They remember, and they wonder. The stars don't say a word, but in their silence, we found our way. We've marked the hours and carried stories from generation to generation. The Big Dipper and Ursa Major are 2 of the most familiar constellations in the night sky. So if you happen to look up tonight, why not follow those 7 stars with your eyes? Take a little walk with them in your mind. They've been there for a very long time, and they'll probably still be there long after we're gone. Now the night deepens once more, and moon shadow murmurs will return with another story soon. But until then, may you find a piece of starlight somewhere in your dreams. Have a good night under the moon shadow.